Hello, dear friends. Here we are at Cardiac Radio at 11 p.m., nourishing our souls with one more immortal messages. We are here with you to study messages that were sent to all of us. And the purpose of these messages is to empower us to live a better life. So, you and I are being invited to read this book together, Psychophonic Instructions, a book that came in a mediumistic meeting in 1954 and 55, where Chico Xavier, Arnaldo Rocha, and many others were rescuing entities that were suffering, and he channeled at the end of the meetings messages that you will see here right now with us, okay? So welcome to this beautiful moment in which we're going to study a most important message. It's about thought. Well, it's about life, thought and life, right? And the spirit author today is Lourenço Prado. Lourenço Prado lived in Brazil and he published several books. He was this man who wrote books named famous ones like Alegria e Triunfo, very famous in Brazil, and many others, empowering people that thought that our minds create our lives. After this incarnation, he comes through Chico Xavier and continues his legacy of illuminating our minds. This is the beauty of the continuity of life. You continue in the path of illumination. You see, if many people who discarnate here in bad conditions, then go to the lower zones, value the suicides, etc., and are troubled, on the other hand, those who start sowing the good here, and especially within their hearts, when they discarnate, they continue doing it into realms. It's so beautiful. And if you ask, what is next? There's always something to learn and more to serve and always to love. It's what Joseph says, to learn, to love, and to serve. Always, always. And that's the beauty of life. So I see all of you friends coming in, beautiful friends. I miss you all. John De Rosa, Carol Correa, Nora Brazil, Daisy Gallen, Lívia Trevisani. Hello, Lívia. What an honor to be here with you. And I see more friends that I cannot actually see here, but welcome. And if you're watching or listening to this on demand, feel the embrace, because this togetherness is connecting us to this constructive mental currents that Andrea Lewis explains in the book Mechanisms of Mediumship. Through Chico Xavier and Vairo Vieira, in that book, he explains to us that there are only two types of mental currents. As we think, we form mental waves, and those mental waves connect us to two types of Wi-Fi. There's a constructive one and a destructive one. There's no neutral one. And today, Lourenço Prado is going to explain to us through Chico Xavier more about it. Are you ready? Yes? I hope you are, right, Souza? Ready, friends? And this is something we need to teach our children, by the way. Mentor Joseph always reminds us, we need to teach these things to our children today. Yes, keep repeating to them, and exemplifying, of course, but leading them into this certainty. It's not a belief, it's a certainty that we co-create with the Creator our lives. As Andrea Lewis says in the book Mechanisms of Mediumship, our thought is within the Creator's thought. So it's like clay, Play-Doh. God gives us that Play-Doh and we mold it. We need goodwill to mold it well. Let us see what Lorenzo Prado is going to add to this. This message came 66 years ago on the night of November 25th, 1954, in the Spiritist group May May. What a beautiful group. I was there last year and I tell you, what a beautiful place to visit. You know, what a beautiful place to know more about. And it's still there. The group was happy with the presence, says Arnaldo Rocha, the director of the meeting, of Lourenço Prado, who, through psychophonic channels, gave us an expressive talk about thought. Writer, widely known in the harvest of spiritualism in Brazil, and author of several books of great merit, Lourenço Prado's word in the speech we transcribe is about harmony, balance, and collaboration in our mental life. What a joy! Okay, breathe in, breathe out, and go. He says to us, after the physical death, exciting is the picture of surprises that unfolds our vision. However, for us, followers of spiritualism, one of the greatest of all is the confirmation of mental power as a creative and renewing force in all the lines of the universe. Heaven, as the spatial abode of beauty, really exists because we cannot imagine paradise erected on a swamp. Yet, above all else, heaven is the range of glorified thoughts to which we conform with all creatures of our evolutionary step. Hell, as a place of expiatory suffering, cannot be disputed either, because it will not be fair to devise the existence of a mud puddle in a living temple. But beyond any notion of place, hell is the network of tortured thoughts, in which we allow to seize us with all those who commune with problems or low-level afflictions. It is necessary to wake up to the realities of mentalism in order to get rid of the shackles of the past, creating a tomorrow that is not a conditioned reflection of yesterday. The law, and he says law capital letter, grants us in the name of God at present the asset of revelations of modern spiritualism. So we learn to think, helping the mind of the world in the same sense. Thought lies at the base of all our manifestations. We evolve in the path of mental currents, just as fish develop in the ocean currents. Therefore, we reflect all the intelligences that are attuned to us in the same tone. In joy or pain, in balance or imbalance, we act with all the spirits, incarnate or discarnated, who in our neighborhood are added to our way of feeling and being. This is half of the message. The second half is ever more powerful, but we need to pause to feel the scripture, as Jesus said to Nicodemus. We need to feel it. So let's go back. He says, when we go back full time in the spiritual realm, because we're not 100% in the physical, when we go to sleep, we're almost back there. It's almost like dying. People are afraid of death, but you go to sleep, it's almost dead. Almost. Maybe that's why many people are afraid of sleeping, right? Because when we go there, we face our mental power, our creations, our co-creations. God allows it. Mental power. And he says, thought lies in the basis of all things. But remember, when he says thought, he is talking about what Emmanuel says in the book Thought and Life, which is feeling and thought. Feeling comes first. And that's what he means by thought. It's the ideas that are generated by those feelings, by those vibrations. So, what is the assessment for us right now? What are we creating in our lives? Can you estimate percentage? What do you usually think in your daily life currently of the coronavirus? If it is, that's a huge problem. To think constantly of it, it's sickening just to think of it. Why? Because by thinking of it, you're not changing anything. On the contrary, we're just adding to the plate. Unless you're a scientist seeking the vaccine, unless you are a lawmaker, unless you are somebody who is directly involved with it. But we thinking of it is not going to do the deal. What do we need to do? Think the good. God sent the current scenario to make us healthier. People are healthier today than 2, 3 months, 4 months ago. Those who remain on earth. And those who discarnate as well, because if they discarnated, it was their time. They are lighter, peri-spiritually. They expunged through it all. How do I know? Listen to this. Lorenzo Prado continues by saying, health is thought in harmony with the law of God. I will repeat. Health is the thought in harmony with the law of God. Best vaccine to any disease, find harmony with God, with the law of God. And he says, sickness, illness is the process of rectifying it, correcting mistakes and abuses perpetrated by ourselves yesterday or today before it all. This is such a revelation for us, a new way of seeing it. He says that illness is the process of correcting mistakes, of rectifying our thought that was off in disharmony. How beautiful is this? How beautiful is this? It's just wonderful. Because we're going to see illnesses from the perspective of expunging disharmony. Expunging disharmony. That's why Louise Hay, homeopathic doctors, anthroposophic doctors, doctors of holistic view, integral view like Hahnemann, the father of homeopathy, as he describes in the Gospel According to Spiritism. We are going to ask our illness what we need to learn, because that is an opportunity to expunge the disharmony. In the book Evolution into Worlds, chapter 19, part 2, Andre Lewis is going to say, we predispose ourselves to illnesses when we commit a grave mistake and keep remembering of it. Why? Because when we make a mistake, that disharmony clogs our system, because he says it creates a nodule of vibratory disturbance in our spiritual body, the perispirit. And this will be expunged either through illnesses in a reincarnation or dissolved in the waters of love when we learn to love people. But we need a whole lot of love, not like this little love. Oh, I have a bottle of water. Here, take it. No, that's very little. We're talking about sacrificial love, a whole lot of love. That's why Mentor Joseph, remember that day? He said, you think you're doing a lot of good? Math, how many hours do you actually spend on your day, every day, doing something good towards others that has no recompense? And I mean recompense financially or of other nature, but just the inner. 1 hour a day in 24 hours, that represents very little. You see how far we are? So that's why we get sick, because we need to expunge these disharmonies. And that's not a shame for you and I. We still carry in our current society this prejudice that when you're sick, you are being punished. Just like you see in the books by Emmanuel. 2,000 years ago, people thought that those who were sick were of inferior nature. They thought, oh, the gods are punishing them. And there are people who nowadays say they are spiritists and they are Christians, and they have this view that when you're sick, you're being punished. For God's sakes, disease is not punishment. It's a loving way to be corrected only when you merit, when you can handle that disease. Because if we were really going to get sick for everything we do, we wouldn't survive. But when we can, and we ask for it, remember the book Memoirs of a Suicide? There's a point in which they say, I need to come blind, they say. And you think it's a punishment? I'm not going to say it's easy peasy, lemon squeezy. No, it's not a walk in the park either. But it's not punishment. You see how far we are from understanding the mercy of God that comes justice, love, and charity all together. Thank you, River Smith, for being here with us. Angelita, thank you. Stella da Costa, big hug to you, friends. Now he's going to say, if health is thought in harmony with the law of God, and sickness is a process to correct it, then what is obsession? Lourenço Prado is going to say, obsession is this fixed idea in depressing situations, provoking to our disfavor the sick flow of souls who have fixed themselves in the same situations. So if right now we're daily fixed, like, oh my gosh, the coronavirus, I can't take it anymore, oh my gosh, we are entering a field of obsession because it's this persistent, negative, depressing idea, and we enter this destructive mental currents. But Vanessa, what else to do? Be grateful. For the coronavirus, for the opportunity of experiencing everything we're experiencing. We're growing more mature, more experienced, more humane. Oh, there are 10,000 things we could list here. More resilient. We're learning many things, right? Now, he says, temptation is this vicious force we exteriorize attracting the dark influence that inclines us to the canyons of evil, because all attunement to ignorance or perversity invariably begins with the perversity or ignorance we cherish within ourselves. This is astounding. Usually we think temptation is something that is external to us, we're so angelic, and then bad spirits will come and tempt us. They can't tempt us if we don't have the matrix inside of us. Oh, I did this because somebody was tempting me. I had that love affair because this woman was, always constantly calling me, and she seduced me. He seduced me. That doesn't exist. It's just an excuse, which is childish, because children are like this. They are always like blaming on somebody else, right? I didn't do it. He did it, right? But when we grow adults, I said, yeah, it's mine. That dark influence that we are attracting comes from this force within us. I think this is very empowering, don't you think? Lourenço Prado is boosting in us a new way of understanding ourselves. A plate of precious gems will not stimulate the natural hunger of a horse, but will excite the greed of the person whose thoughts are frantic to the point of committing a crime. That thing people say, I committed a crime, I heard a voice, oh my gosh, but you are cultivating murder thoughts. Yes, because we're not going to attract evil forces if we don't cultivate inside of us. That's why we need to, especially for parents and educators, we're going to say, St. Augustine, chapter 14, item 9. I have the book here. I'm going to show it to you. The Gospel According to Spiritism, chapter 14, item 9. St. Augustine says, we parents and educators need to see the little shoots coming like a gardener from that plant, and if they are going to the wrong direction, trim them at the root. Get rid of them immediately. So when a child comes and says, I'm thinking of committing suicide, you don't take it, oh, he's just saying, no. When somebody says that, you need to take action. Go to a therapist, a good one, a play therapist, usually for children, and address it and say, come here. God created you. He loves you. And say, spirit to spirit, looking at your child in the eye, and say, hey, look at me. You are an immortal spirit. Do you know how long it took for God from creating you for you to become human? 1.5 billion years. How can you dare kill yourself or think about it or even say it? What is going on inside of you? Oh, but that friend is bullying me, or I did. Okay, so we are going to pray together every day. We're going to do these affirmations every day. And my daughter Virginia is 6 years old. I taught her how to use the app I Am. You know the app I Am? Go to your phone, download I Am, an app that was created for affirmations. And she was the one who found that you can practice it for 1 minute, 5 minutes, 15 minutes. And you read, repeat, and then they bring another affirmation and you repeat. That is reprogramming our minds that for millennia have brought uncertain ideas, ideas of guilt, sorrows, remorse. We can't allow our children to go by with depressing thoughts and be easy prey to obsessors. We need to help our students too. Teach them to think positively about them. I remember how often I taught my students without any particular label, saying, it's science says that it's worthwhile visualizing your success, visualizing yourself as capable of progressing, capable of doing what you need. Always, always, always. There's nothing that somebody can do that you cannot do. You can, as long as you apply yourself. Lourenço Prado finalizes this message in the highest tone. Let us this way remember the need to think irreproachably. You know what to think irreproachably means? Flawlessly. To educate ourselves in order to advance forward. Making less mistakes, he says. Matter, which obeys our mental impulse, and André Luiz is going to talk about it in the book Mechanisms of Mediumship, mental matter, is the combination of inferior lives that vibrate and feel at the service of superior lives that vibrate, feel, and think. He's talking about associations. Reasoned thinking is the greatest achievement we have ever achieved on earth, because we're humans. Let us seek to perfect our minds, sublimating them by study and work that ennobles our lives. Happiness is the correct thought. Misfortune is deformed thinking. Happiness is harmonious thought. And misfortune is deformed thinking. So if we want happiness, we need to learn to think in harmony with the laws of God. A terrestrial sanctuary is the mental fruit of the architect who idealized, with the cooperation of the servants who assimilated the ideas. The new world we're waiting for is divine construction, mentalized by the Christ in the exaltation of humanity. Hired by our divine master, workers that we are, may we think with him to win. What an invitation. He says, you and I were hired by the Christ of the earth to work with him on the good. And did you hear that? Jesus has already visualized this planet the way it has to become. So you and I don't need to reinvent the wheel because Jesus has the plan. All we need to do is to feel him, feel the good news, and let it flow through us. That's all we need to do. Nothing else. If you're lost, like, oh my gosh, I don't know the direction. Go within and say, God, I know that you know. I just need to surrender to it. And that's that as easy as it is. Some people ask me, Vanessa, how do you spend your days? I spend focus on the duties I have to fulfill. That's it. I don't dream big plans. Oh, I'm going to create this project. I know I don't. You know why? Because I am not the general of this planet. I'm not the governor. It's on Jesus and the higher spirits to visualize. On me, it's to see how I am, visualize how I'm going to fulfill it. So my duties immediately are here. Somebody calls, I address. I need to fulfill the daily duties in the family. I clean, I do laundry, I study, I work, take care of my health. And however else the good I need to fulfill. But I don't spend my days, and I don't think people should spend their days worried about things that are not our concern. How am I going to change the earth? That's not for me. How am I going to make people happier? By thinking the good. And then when they come across you, you're like, I'm happier because you are harmonized, because you're aligned with God and you can recognize the children of God everywhere you go, including the tree, including the plant, including the flowers, including the animals of this planet. And I see in them brothers and sisters that I need to assist in their evolution, and they assist us in our evolution too. Simplifying life big time. As Lorenzo Prado is saying, our focus is, and I will repeat, the new world we are waiting is divine construction, mentalized by the Christ in the exaltation of humanity, hired by our divine master, workers that we are. May we think with him to win. Wow. Are you impressed, friends? This message is phenomenal. It comes at the perfect time, a perfect time for us when we need to visualize the good. This pandemic is going to be dissolved. But the thing is, have we learned the lessons? Have we progressed with the planet? God is teaching us so many beautiful things. So let us exercise in the next 24 hours, realizing what we're doing with our mental power. Let us, in the next 24 hours, observe, what am I doing with the power of thinking that I have in me? Am I using it with our reason, with the driving force of our will, or am I just letting it flow instinctively? At human level, we need to reason, be aware, be mindful before we take any action. Let us do this exercise, this observation. Observing is an exercise. What am I doing with the mental power? Is it constructive or destructive? Because there's no neutrality. And by doing so, we're empowering ourselves to a better life. Now I'm going to invite you to a short prayer, a prayer in which we are exercising our mental power, boosting it towards constructiveness, ennobling. We're not going to pray for ourselves. We're going to pray for the people who are suffering the most in this planet. You may know where they are, but you may also guess where they are. Let us visualize the beautiful baskets of healing light are being delivered to them. They're going to receive these baskets, and as they feel the vibration of it all, flowers, perfumes, healing balms, they are going to feel the embrace of this healing and loving energies. Shall we? Delivery time. Let us go. Just playing music for the background. Let us feel the vibration of the loving spirit guides. Here with us. Dear God, Right now, we unite our thoughts, feelings of wellness, creating beautiful healing baskets with you. Kindly asking you to multiply them and to help us by delivering to the people who are suffering the most on earth, whether incarnated or discarnated. May they receive these healing baskets, opening them with the joy of being loved. May the perfume of the flowers envelop them in healing energies. May nutritious elements strengthen them. May the spiritual waters that they receive satiate their thirst. May healing balms be applied onto their spiritual bodies. In the joy of this moment, feeling the loving care that they deserve, we thank you for inviting us to partake, to collaborate, to cooperate with your creation. May we also feel your blessings harmonizing our thoughts, our feelings, so our words and actions can be evermore one with you. We feel your protection and your guidance, and we thank you for bringing Chico Xavier, Lourenço Prado, and all the loving spirits who brought us this message of empowerment and for the blessings of life. Thank you, God, and so be it. What a joy, dear friends, to be here with you, sharing these moments of co-creation on the good. In the next 24 hours, let us listen to the call by Lourenço Prado and observe our mental power and visualize whether we are co-creating the good constructively or otherwise, and quickly make a decision to shift. If you have any question, please feel free to write to us at cardiacradio@gmail.com. And for now, we wish you lots of blessings as we prepare ourselves for another day when we'll come back, God willing, for more immortal messages here at Cardiac Radio, where we're always nourishing our souls. Thank you, friends.